What's up, people? Welcome to my minivan. My name is Bridger Frederick. I'm a T10 paraplegic with a couple-year-old spinal injury, and this is a ride-along. I host a couple little shindigs in my van on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as I drive back and forth to physical therapy and just talk about all things spinal cord injury. And today, the topic at hand is what it's like to live with a spinal cord injury. Kind of just a broad strokes topic of if you're new to injury, kind of some things to expect, and then what it's like a couple years down the road from my experience. So I'll just start by saying that I'm not going to sugarcoat it by any stretch of the imagination. Just going to be straight up and tell you what it was like for me, and the good and the bad and the really heinously ugly. And so I'm going to start with when I originally got released from the inpatient hospital. I went to Craig Hospital in Denver following a car accident where I completely crushed my spine, broke my spinal column in 20 places, serious spinal cord injury at T10, and I ended up getting a big muscle flap surgery. And anyways, so major injury, ruptured liver, lung, all sorts of stuff going on. No good. And right when I got released, and this was in November 2019, so I got released from the hospital February 14th, 2020, and when I got released, I had a massive infection in my spinal column, a staph infection. I was on tons of intravenous and oral antibiotics, and on top of that, I was ragingly addicted to opiates. So maybe the beginning of my experience is not accurate to what it would be like in just a general situation where you got released from the hospital in a little bit better condition than I was. But anyways, me and my girlfriend, Kelsey, at the time, and my current girlfriend now, we moved into an apartment a couple miles away from Craig Hospital in Denver because we're from Idaho and there's just no great neurological facilities there. So we thought, we'd stay down in that area and get the best recovery program post-injury as possible, not knowing that the pandemic was just around the corner. And I can't remember when it exactly shut down. I was out for a couple months, I'm sure, but basically I was just getting over the worst symptoms of the infection, the most amount of pain. I was getting comfortable being at home, and the pandemic shut everything down. And to be honest, it wasn't very jarring for me at first. I didn't really mind. I was kind of content just staying up all night, getting faded on opiates, and writing. I really enjoy creative writing, and I was writing a book at the time, and so I was really enjoying that, to be honest. But it did terrible things for my physical health and in turn my mental health because of the deteriorating physical condition. So basically I was just not moving very much. I did luckily have a standing frame that was paid for by Medicaid Colorado at the time, and that's another thing. I was very fortunate to have not opted for any medical insurance, and also was absolutely terrible at saving money. So I never have in my whole life had residual money sitting in my bank account. If I have money, I think almost no matter how much money I had, I would be spending it pretty consistently. So didn't have any money in my bank account, so qualified, and didn't have health insurance, so qualified for Medicaid Colorado, and they were absolutely amazing. They were awesome. I don't Medicaid I've had private insurance a lot throughout my life, and Medicaid is way better. It's awesome. But anyways, so paid for a standing frame, and yeah, that that first couple months was definitely really hard, pandemic or otherwise. I mean, I was devastated. I was spending a lot of time sleeping, a lot of time taking pills, oxys and Ambiens and muscle relaxers and just anything to just try to erase the crushing pain that I was in. I got rhabdomylosis from a Daptomycin, one of the antibiotics that I was taking IV, and that was worse than even the spinal cord infection pain. I was just in so much pain. It was just me and my girlfriend on our own. We just had family and friends around us for months while I was inpatient. Now we're just kind of by ourselves. So it was crushing. I mean, I'm not going to even pretend to sugarcoat it. There was plenty of times where I snuck into the bathroom and just sobbed and wondered, how I was going to persevere through this. Not just the being in a wheelchair part. It was a huge part of my mental health issue. Definitely just the agonizing, crushing, constant pain that was a result, of course, because of all the significant amount of injuries and stuff that I had, and the hardware and the surgeries, but also just the infection. That you don't want to get an infection in the metal and the hardware anywhere in your body. That's for sure. It's really no bueno. So yeah, it was just a real roller coaster. Good days and bad days, and just a lot of sitting alone in an apartment with nothing to do, contemplating life and what my purpose was, and just questioning, like, why did this happen to me? You're gonna think that a million times over, the 150 billion decisions you could have made differently that would have not put you in that moment at that time, there's all sorts of questions you ask yourself. I contemplated suicide heavily during that first 3 to 6 months, and I never actually considered really doing it. Like, I never was, I guess, suicidal. Like, I wanted to do it, but just because I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, I just had I knew that I would find reason and find hope. Like, I had confidence that I wasn't completely hopeless. I just didn't necessarily want to persevere through that, that first chunk. I knew the first, 6, or the next 6 to 18 months was going to be really hard. I did not imagine how hard some of that time was going to be, but I knew it was going to be hard, and I never actually considered doing it, but I guess I fantasized about it. I was just like, man, it'd be so much easier to just kill myself right now than live this next day or these next days, because it was brutal. I mean, it was really, really hard. But as time went on, I just became so much stronger and tougher, I guess, than I ever thought I would be. And I wasn't much of a quitter before when it came to determination and perseverance. But I'd done a lot of really hard things. I've spent months cycling 60 to 100 kilometers a day in Africa, and sleeping out in the wilds of Africa, and just at random people's houses and farms and ranches, by myself, with essentially no real map or plan or anything. I was not really a stranger to doing extremely difficult things that took a lot of mental willpower, but I had no idea how strong this was gonna make me. I guess mentally strong. Just the constant just when you're doing something really hard, you always have a choice to quit. You have a choice to, when you're pushing through some sort of mental or physical obstacle, it's a mental game where you just have to keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself. But this was not, like with the option to stop at any time. There, you can usually give up, and not having the option to give up is just so scary. It's so intense. Constantly being in unimaginable pain, just knowing that getting up and going to the bathroom and showering and putting your clothes on and making food and just taking your care of yourself is like the most unimaginable obstacle ever. And just having that huge change, whereas before, like if I needed to, I'd run 14, 15 miles and it wasn't even like a huge obstacle to bear in my mind. It was just like something, like if I literally was in a foreign country or a foreign place and needed to get something 13 or 14 miles away, like running or walking there wasn't even like a significant barrier in my mind. Like I'd happily run 12, 13 miles or whatever. And going from that person to honestly taking 3 hours of laying in bed in the morning, rolling around in excruciating pain, to convince myself to sit up and take my dog outside and get something to eat. And thank God I had that dog to take outside, because if it wasn't for my dog Cleo needing to go to the bathroom and needing to go outside, and I was living in an apartment complex, so having to go out and take her, who knows how long I would have stayed in bed. You know, it was kind of like the only thing that motivated me, because I wouldn't have I would have, but I mean, I would almost have opted not to drink water so that I didn't have to get up and use the bathroom myself. Like, it was that much of a struggle, just because there's such overwhelming pain and weakness, and like, I mean, my whole body was crushed. I broke all of these ribs on this side, ripped a bunch of them off, like tore all tons of the muscles, and a bunch of the muscles removed, and then the infection and the rhabdomylosis, which is like your whole body is just like eating itself. I don't exactly know what it is, but it's so painful, and it was happening for like, it was like not an acute thing. It was like happening like progressively worse over time, because it wasn't caused from overtraining like it typically is. It was caused from literally taking Daptomycin, like an antibiotic. And I didn't realize that the symptoms I was experiencing were from rhabdo and from an antibiotic until I was basically peeing pure blood, which I don't think it's actually blood, but it looks like blood. It's red blood cells or something. But I was peeing straight red, and that's the only reason I figured out it was rhabdo, I guess. So yeah, that was no doubt easy to say. Obviously, the hardest time in my life by 100-fold, and to be honest, every day got gradually easier. The human body is so amazing. It's so incredible at adapting. And what's the most amazing thing about being human is how quickly you can completely change your world with just by changing your mind. I mean, you can change your whole experience and existence in an instant if you, with willpower or a significant realization happening to you, if you can change the way you think and the way you frame something, it can change everything right away. I mean, just instantly. I guess that's what I realized over the course of those months, is it was just better to frame things positively than frame them negatively. Better to look at what you can do rather than what you can't do. And it sounds cliche and it sounds cheesy, and like when I first got injured, I hated hearing, or I didn't care to hear people say things like that, because like to think of myself as a realist, and you can still be a realist and be super positive and have a super positive outlook, because in my mind now, like, I am literally creating my reality as we speak. So whatever you imagine is kind of real. Like, you can really create the world around you in so many ways. Our minds are just so malleable and flexible that if you really convince yourself, and I mean, evidenced by all of the crazy shit happening in the world right now, and all the absolutely insane people who now have a voice on social media, using that voice to push out all the wacko shit that they believe. I mean, there is literally people who think lizards run the world and the earth is flat, and people who do or don't believe in every type of alien, like, and I am on the team. I have no fucking clue. That's my team, because I don't know the answers to what's going on in the world and whether or not there's aliens, or, you know, all I know for sure is I have a really good sense of what is right and wrong when I do or say something. Like, I understand intuitively when I'm doing something that's not good, like evil, on the evil end of, like, good and evil is a spectrum for sure, but when it's more on the evil end of the spectrum, I know when I'm doing something for the wrong reasons or whatever, and I know when I'm doing something for the right reasons and for good, and I might not do it correctly, but other than like a really good intuitive feeling of good and evil itself, I have no idea what is going on. I don't know if there's a God who created the world, if we're all living in a simulation. I don't know if like we're just a little speck in some alien project or something. I have no idea, and I don't even pretend to speculate. I'm sure as heck not going to shout out online that one thing is certainly how it is, but plenty of other people will, and that's my whole point, is that the human mind is incredibly powerful. Like, you can believe some really, really crazy shit with very little evidence that it's true. So without any evidence that my life was good, I was miserable, having extreme relationship difficulties because we were just under so much pressure. My girlfriend was in the car accident with me and suffered a pretty major head injury and a C3 severe fracture as well, but no spinal cord involvement, luckily, thank God. And so it was like I was in, there's lots of rain happening right now, pretty intense. Okay, well, I think the rain is mostly over, so I'll continue on with my little rant. Oh, what am I doing? It probably sounds like bunghole. Don't want you to have bunghole in your ears. That would be devastating. No one likes that. Well, I'm sure someone does. You never know. Based on things I've seen on the internet, there is definitely a little something for everyone, or someone who's into anything and everything. Anyways, okay, less about bunghole in the ears, more about spinal cord injury. So what I was saying is, basically, there's tons of crazy people out there who believe all sorts of crazy shit, despite the fact that there's literally no evidence whatsoever to support their ideas. And so I kind of took that to heart and just thought, okay, there is no evidence that my life is going to get better or be awesome, or that I'm ever going to overcome this crushing back and body pain and the absolute horrible destroyed gut and digestive system. But I started believing it anyways, for really no good reason whatsoever, other than I believed it was possible that I could get better. I mean, I believe that innately, but there was no evidence supporting that was going to happen, other than that I have a lot of willpower and I'm willing to put in the hard work. And other than that, there was literally nothing pointing towards a better future. So many aspects of my body were deteriorating. Pain was not getting better at all. I was getting way more used to it and able to overcome it and live with it, and way more accepting of it, but it wasn't improving by any stretch of the imagination. If anything, it was just like a grating thing that was happening so long for so often that it was actually harder to deal with because it was just such a chronic irritation that your willpower to just handle it is strained all the time. So yeah, despite the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of evidence supporting this, I wholeheartedly just threw my mind and body into the belief that it was going to get better, that things were going to improve, that I was going to walk again, that I was going to regain my mobility, that more than even a walk again, like that has always been a hope and a belief of mine, that I would somehow, by some miracle, some way, regain the ability to do the activities that I love the most in this world. But more than that, I just wanted to regain my health and like just mental sanity. You know, I wasn't sleeping hardly at all. The only time I was ever asleep is if I literally knocked myself out with a massive amount of opiates and like Ambien or something, which is the worst sleep ever. But at least I was not having, you know, at least it wasn't even like sleep hardly. It was just like a timeout from the devastating reality of being awake. But as I believed, you know, this crap, that I was going to get better, that things were going looking up, like nothing really improved, like as far as external happenings and what was happening internally in my body. Like there was very marginal improvement at best from that original release date all the way through when I got another surgery to remove all the hardware from my back, all the infected hardware, in September of 2020, which basically was a complete setback to like the day I got out of surgery, nearly. I mean, I was completely incapacitated again with tubes coming out, massive muscle flap surgery all over again, like couldn't even sit up or hardly, like barely push myself one little wheel at a time. They wanted me to be in a motorized wheelchair for like a month or something, and I was like, no way. And like be in an inpatient facility for a month, then a motorized wheelchair. I don't know what they wanted me to do, but it was a load of shit. I ended up just going home after a week in the hospital and a really short stay at an awful inpatient stuff place called Vibra Health or something like that. An absolute shithole. If anyone ever says they're going to take you to Vibra Health, just tell them to take you to an insane asylum or a prison instead. It would be a better experience. But so yeah, basically the point is complete setback to starting, like just wrecked all over again. But my whole outlook and general feeling in life improved massively. And then, like, as that just general feeling and outlook and contentedness and just appreciation, that's the right word, my appreciation for everything just grew deeper and stronger. And I just, you know, slowly, incrementally started to accept, like, I'm not accepting that I'm going to be stuck in a chair forever. I'm not going to do anything to work my way out of it. Like, there's a boundary, there's a boundary of, well, not boundary is the wrong word, but there's like a spectrum, I guess I'll use that word again, of acceptance. Like, I can accept in my heart that I'm in a chair and that this is what I have to deal with today, without just resigning to the fact that this is where I'm stuck forever. Like, I can hold on to hope without it being worried about it getting crushed or something. But point is, as I, you know, just blindly trusted that things would improve, they did. Good things started happening completely externally, like what anyone would describe as luck. And, you know, it's exactly what people describe in all of the new age, you know, get rich, like Think and Grow Rich type books, like all of the stuff that branched off from that deal, the Secret and things like that. And, you know, you can believe in whatever aspects of the metaphysical components of that, where you're literally influencing the molecules or energy or ether around you and drawing stuff to you. But I'm not against it all. Like I said, I don't know how things work. Some crazy weird things have happened in my life, had intense experiences. Like, I think anything's possible, but I don't necessarily even know if that's it as much as when your heart's in the right place and just you're putting it out there and putting the good vibes and good energy and belief out there. I don't even know if you attract more opportunity, or if you attract more opportunities to you, or you just recognize the ones that are there. Because when you're depressed or down or just struggling or filled with anxiety or worried about pain all the time, a million good things can happen, and you just don't recognize them as good things or take advantage of them. So I guess I guess it's multifactorial. I guess there's a bunch of factors going into why having a positive outlook and believing that things are going to happen the way that you want them to happen. You're going to get to the place that you want to be, is what I'm saying. Like, just having a positive outlook, it's huge. It really does work. And even if it's foolish and crazy to just believe things other than what the evidence says, like, I believe I'm going to walk again. The evidence, the vast majority of evidence, and other people who have had spinal cord injuries, and most experts who have any experience in neurological deficits would boldly disagree with me, and rightfully so. But is that belief hurting me? Is it helping me? I would argue that it's helping me in a lot of ways. Like, it makes me work way, way harder when I'm working out and when I'm doing stuff. It makes me way more likely to, like this morning, I didn't want to get up and go to fit class. I was so exhausted. Fit class is like a workout class that happens before my PT at PT place, like a PT place I go to, Core Orlando, the Center of Recovery and Exercise. It's a fantastic place. Check it out if you're in Florida or want to come to Florida and get spinal cord injury rehab. But like, so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I believe I'm going to walk again when I'm doing exercises and working out and choosing to go to work out rather than to sit at home and work on creative stuff or whatever. Like, I'm like making the choices to push myself to the limits needed to heal, because I believe I can heal. So it's like this self-fulfilling cycle, I believe I can heal, so I push myself harder. Whereas if I didn't believe I could heal, and I thought I was gonna be in a chair forever, and I just had a depressing outlook on it all, then I would not work as hard. I would not do as much. I wouldn't be as motivated to push myself through the pain or the struggle, or to, work out on the days that I don't want to work out, or to stand when I don't want to stand, and to stretch when I don't feel like stretching. Like, I would just lay around and watch, dope stuff on Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and YouTube, and I would read, and I would, do fun things, and I would take drugs and hang out and with friends and drink and party and go to dinners, and like, I would do the, vicarious live fast, die young type of stuff, because I wouldn't give a crap about my life if I thought that I just had no hope on the horizon. And that's not to say just walking again, but that's to say, just having a general good outlook on my prognosis and ability to heal. So anyways, that's it. That's the little ride along for the day. I hope that anyone who hears this, if anyone ever hears it, can heed at least the most basic point from here, and that's just, try to have a positive outlook. Try to absolutely push yourself and persevere, because if you're in a bad place, the only way it gets better is for you to go out and make it better. So I appreciate anyone who listened, and that's the trip over. We're back at the apartment complex. It's starting to rain again, and I'm gonna go ahead and get inside before one of those giant dumping episodes happens. Maybe it might be happening.